Government cautions against the politicization of Bawku chieftaincy conflict as it assures swift measures to address the security situation there.
Also, the students and guardians begin trooping into GES designated regional solution centers to rectify anomalies with a computerized school placement system for the 2024-2025 academic year.
Plus this afternoon, University Teachers Association of Ghana announces immediate suspension of nationwide strike against illegal mining. Those are the big stories. I'm Kemini Amano.
And I am Mawena Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now. This afternoon, government is being accused of deliberate negligence in the escalating tensions in Bawku. It follows the imposition of a 6-to-6 curfew on the troubled town following renewed tension and clashes which have spread across of the east and northeast regions from the weekend. Tension pinned the recent disturbance on the arrival of a rival chief into the Bawku township. Let's give you a bit more from what the government has been saying, but first, let's try and detail for you what this conflict is about in relation to Bawku and where we are at this particular point in time. And that's going to come up on your screens right now. How long this chieftaincy dispute has protracted up until this point, and then the difficulties as well in relation to it. So that's it on your screens right now. We know that over 200 fatalities since November of 2021, 5 deaths in gun-related clashes in February of 2024, and more than 15 fatalities reported in a recent clash. A bit more for you in relation to what we know about the Bawku situation. The underlying causes have been long-standing chieftaincy dispute between the Kusasi and Mamprosi groups, and we know that there's been influx of sophisticated arms, including AK-47 and G3 rifles, likely smuggled from Burkina Faso. It's been a hotbed for suspected terrorist activities, exacerbating the conflict situation in the area as well. And a bit more for you in relation to that. What are the implications as we're learning of this afternoon? Over 1,000 people have been displaced to neighboring towns of Bogatanga, Navrongo and Sandema, increasing pressure on local resources in these areas where the displaced have had to seek shelter. There's been widespread business closures and high unemployment rate due to the instability within the township, as a matter of fact. Also, we know that this has affected healthcare delivery. 27 maternal deaths reported between 2021 and 2022 due to the restricted healthcare access in the area, and 246 teachers we know have requested transfers from 2021 to 2023 as we have it. In fact, we know that a while back residents were appealing to civil servants to begin to return to the township. Let's go over now to security analyst Emmanuel Kuting, who's joining us via the telephone lines. Let's get a bit more from him in relation to the details we've been providing to you, and also our ex-secretary statement which announced the curfew. Mr. Kuting, I appreciate that you could speak to us. There's the arguments being made and being made strongly about government negligence in the escalation of tensions that we've seen, particularly in that Interior Ministry statement, which says that the continuous stay of this rival chief in the Bawku township will continue to bring about problems. The big question everybody's asking is, if government is aware of Why hasn't any action been taken up to now?
Thank you so much for having me. A very good afternoon to your cherished listeners. In fact, it's about time we call a spade on the Bawku issue. The security agencies are on top of their work. But the problem in Bawku is politics. And if you look at the historical antecedents of the Bawku chieftaincy crisis, it predates independence. And for government to come out to say that the continuous stay of the chief in Bawku will create security tensions, it speaks volumes. It means the future is so pregnant. And I want to say this. You see, Bawku has become an embarrassment, so to speak, on the country. And you recall that when an arrest warrant was placed on this chief, the Mampreshis went to the High Court, and they could not overturn that. Subsequently, they went to the appeals court, and government refused to file an appearance. And that gave rise to the overturning of the arrest warrant. And later on, government decided to play the ostriches by filing an appeal against the discernment of the arrest warrant. Look, the president was in the region not some few weeks ago. And that was when all these things started, and the chief was sent to Bawku. To me, I want to appeal to my fellow Northerners. I'm a very proud Northerner. We should not allow politicians to use us as pawns for their own political gain. And Bawku has suffered for far too long. Innocent people have lost their lives. And if you recall, the Barclays Bank in Bawku was one of the best performing banks in the whole country. Look at Bawku today, a complete shadow of itself. And politicians will not still stay away. They are still using Bawku for their own political gains. Why is this thing happening in some few weeks to an election?
Well,
there is more we don't know. And I think that this government has prescribed the solution. They should take eminent steps to get the chief out of Bawku. If the whole Interior Ministry's statement will point to the fact that the continuous stay of the chief in Bawku will bring about security tension or the continuous security tension in Bawku, what prevents the government from acting? You have prescribed the solution, is that not it? All you need to do is to act. And to me, look at the money. The money the government has expanded on this chieftaincy conflict.
Right.
If they are using resources for the development of Bawku, Bawku would have been a better place. So, my dear brothers who are listening to me, I am at pain that I'm a Northerner and we have allowed politicians to use us, and we are not coming together to fight our common enemy, that is poverty.
Right. Just briefly on the politics bit, we're just hearing from a news conference in relation to the Chieftaincy Affairs Minister who's making the argument that that's not the case and that everybody should shun making the arguments that politics is playing a hand in the conflicts that we're seeing in Bawku at this particular point in time. What will be your response to the Chieftaincy Minister and this argument he's making?
I think his statements are belated, so to speak, at this moment. The drawings were on the board. And if we speak to the security intelligence officers on the ground, they have always provided the government with accurate intelligence. But government has always failed to act. Look, a year ago, I did an analysis of the Bawku chieftaincy issue, given the historical antecedents. And the subsequent analysis I did, we brought the leaders of the feuding factions. I remember Honorable Cletus Aboka spoke for the Kusasis and one other doctor from the Mampreshis. All government needed to do at that time was to set up a National Truth and Reconciliation Commission and give this feuding faction an opportunity to vent their anger. Then a white paper is issued, and then we implement it.
Right.
So it cannot be the case that two people are fighting over one thing and there is not the true owner. So it means that there is something under, and it can never be anything but politics.
Mr. Akute, let's leave the conversation here. I'm sure in the coming days, as the curfew continues, we'll see where it takes all of us. But in relation to that statement by the Interior Minister, let's bring you the excerpt right now, where they have maintained, amongst many other things, that the continued presence of this rival chief continues to pose a risk to security in that part of the country, and what we're discussing at this particular point in time. In fact, there have been ramifications which we've been bringing to you since yesterday in relation to what this means, and you heard Mr. Kuti make reference to that. But let's hear from the Chieftaincy Affairs Minister, Stephen Asamoah Boateng, speak to the politics of it and asking that as much as possible the misrepresentation and politicization of the Bawku conflict by factions be shunned.
As to the number of deaths, record from our sources puts at 16. That's official. When conflicts start in some areas, it's difficult to sometimes pick it up until later people go in there. But officially 16. But it's one too many. So indeed, we need to arrest the situation very quickly. In terms of how the rival chief ended up in Bawku, I'll leave that to security agencies to answer that. It's unfortunate he did. It's something that we have to find answers to, and also to try and deal with it, because his very presence is creating the problems. And indeed, as you read from the statement yesterday, it's causing a lot of unrest and unease and tension. So let's, as I said, leave that to security agencies. But from the role of the key personalities who are helping to resolve, indeed, you recall that the government has requested to take.
As the Chief Minister Stephen Asamoah Boateng, Castro Senyala is a correspondent in the region. Let's just get an update from him quickly in relation to the curfew situation. Castro, day 2 of the curfew. What's been the response of residents to this and how it's affecting them now?
Now, curfews are not new to Bawku people anymore. They've been under curfews for quite a long time, and so whenever they are in positions, it doesn't come as something new to them. I can report that life is going on smoothly in Bawku, irrespective of the curfew, except that the few hours have been made, and also when it's time to get inside at 6 p.m., they quickly get inside, and when it's time to get out, they come out. Also, because of the volatile nature of the area, residents sometimes even go indoors before even the curfew hours begin. And like I said earlier on, it is nothing new. Residents say it's fine, and this has come because it's going to help to fight the widespread of the conflict and also to save lives and property. Except that they say it's too early to speak on camera, and so they've been declining interviews with me. But then I have tried all over the municipality, and I can report that everything is going on well. The police and that of the military continue their efforts in making sure that stability is achieved within the municipality.
Right then, Castro, we'll leave it here. That's my colleague Castro Senyala in the Upper East region, monitoring the Bawku township. Quickly, in relation to that statement by the Interior Ministry announcing the curfew, let's just run you through it right now, what it is that they've been saying. It's going to come up on your screen right now in relation to the situation in Bawku. And as you see it there, the curfew's been imposed from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. It commenced yesterday, Monday the 28th. Government says it is committed to taking all necessary measures to ensure the safety and security of the people of Bawku and its environs. Amongst many other things, security agencies have been directed to enforce strictly the curfew and maintain law and order. Any person they argue found violating the curfew will face the full consequence of the law, and that's by the Interior Ministry in relation to the situation we have in Bawku.
Now, University Teachers Association of Ghana has announced an immediate suspension of its ongoing strike against illegal mining, otherwise known as Galamsey. In a statement released by the association Tuesday morning, UTEC said its fight against illegal mining remains on course to ensure Ghana's environment is protected from the harmful effects of illegal mining. According to UTEC, suspending the strike was not an easy decision. However, after considering the ripple effect of their action against society, i.e. its students, despite the cause being advanced in the interest of society, leadership called for a vote to reconsider the decision. In a bit, we'll talk to the national president of UTEC, who authored that statement, Professor Mamudu Akudugu. But you recall that UTEC strike was in conjunction or collaboration with the mother union, Trades Union Congress, or if you like, organized labor. They have been demanding an immediate end to illegal and unethical mining, following which government took some steps, including setting up a task force to look into the incidents. Now UTEC has finally called off a strike. Let's find out a bit more from Prof. Good afternoon, Prof. Thank you for joining us here.
Good afternoon for having me, and good afternoon to your viewers.
Indeed, your statement notes that it wasn't an easy decision, calling off this strike. What went into coming to that conclusion?
Yeah, well, for UTEC, our process is totally democratic, and so as leaders, we do not have that power to suspend or declare a strike. And so we have to go through the process of giving the directive that the strike be suspended, and our members had to affirm that it should be suspended or otherwise. And so we've been voting across the campuses, and the results that we got at the end of the voting process indicated that majority of members are of the opinion that we should suspend the strike and pursue other options and observe whatever that has been put in place by government, so that if the desired results are not achieved, then we may resume.
I see. So what considerations were made to call off the strike?
Basically, two main considerations. The first one is happenings in the country. At the moment, we know that one of the arms of government has been adjourned indefinitely, that's Parliament. And we know the role they have to play in some of the demands that we've made. And also the second key option or key consideration was balancing the interests of our students with the demands that we're making. And so these are the two key considerations that went into our decision to suspend the strike for now.
I see. The strike was against illegal and unethical mining. UTEC was insisting that government does something about that as soon as it can. Do you think that those demands have been met?
Not at all. The demands have not been met. But as I said, given the exigencies of the time and balancing with the interests of our students, members thought that we've worked so hard to restore the academic calendar after the COVID incidents, and also the future that we are fighting for includes also preparing our younger generation to take over from us.
But Prof, I'm sure UTEC must have known this when he decided to break away from TUC to insist on a strike. Are you under pressure from government to call off the strike?
Not at all. We're not under pressure from government or from anybody to call off the strike. You remember, us at the time we insisted that we wanted to proceed on this strike, we didn't know that Parliament would adjourn indefinitely, for example. And so there are happenings that you cannot predict, and when they happen, you have to live with the reality, and that is the reality we are in. So to what extent can we continue to be on strike when we know that one of the key actors in fulfilling our demands has gone indefinitely. And so, I mean, yes, we knew some of this, but definitely we couldn't predict that some other happenings will be in place. Yeah.
Well, Prof, I want to refer you back to that statement which indicated that you will continue to strongly fight against illegal mining. What else do you have left in your arsenal?
What we have left is the getting the flag bearers to commit to fighting this when they get the power of the people come December 7th. And so we have drafted a pack already that will be approaching the flag bearers of the 2024 presidential elections to commit or to assign to that, to commit to fighting, continuing the fight against illegal and irresponsible mining across the country. Beyond that, we are researchers. We are teachers, and so we will also be doing advocacy, evidence-based advocacy across the country on the negative impacts and the implications of this responsible mining in the long term across mining communities.
Prof, just before I let you go, just a quick response to the NPP statement from yesterday, claiming that UTAG's strike was politically motivated, particularly by the opposition party NDC.
We will be giving an official response to the MPP, the youth wing of the MPP. We consider it very unfortunate, and to the extent that it's an insulting to the intellectual community of this country, that a political party and an individual within UTAG could be that powerful to influence over 2,000 members across, being professors across the university, across Ghana, voting for a declaration of a strike. We believe that the MPP youth wing are not informed of the operations of UTAG, and we'll call on them to better understand how UTAG operates and how our constitution mandates how leaders go about their duties. And so to think that a party that is engaged, and of course, probably that is why we are where we are. And we see the statement as very unfortunate, and even to the extent of talking about sex for grades, where the evidence indicates that the person was freed of all these allegations, and that's why he's still at post. And so it's unfortunate that the MPP youth wing went that way.
I see. Prof, thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Professor Mamudu Akudogu is president of UTAG.
To some more politics for you this afternoon, this time in relation to Parliament and its tango with the Supreme Court. And the Speaker of Parliament says the Supreme Court erred in its decision to grant Alexander Penyumakin's request for a stay on his ruling to have some 4 seats declared vacant. Alban Bagbin, as through his lawyers, returned to the Apex Court, praying it sets aside its orders, which suspended the execution of the Speaker's ruling on the said vacant seats. Lawyers for the Speaker argue the writ which invoked the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court is incompetent, while insisting the Apex Court was not the appropriate forum to discuss the matters as raised by Alexander Penyumakin. Let's try and walk you through brief highlights of the statement of claim and the arguments being put forth by the Speaker's lawyers for you this afternoon. And that hearing is slated for tomorrow. It'll be interesting, really, what happens. But this is what the Speaker is praying the Supreme Court to do: set aside the processes and proceedings in the Supreme Court in the suit vacating the order of the court dated the 18th of October 2024. So essentially, Alban Bagman is asking that the Supreme Court states its own decision, but a bit more in terms of the grounds upon which he's making this, or he's praying the court for his demands to be granted, that the writ by which the plaintiff has purportedly invoked the court's original jurisdiction is incompetent. And by the plaintiff here, we mean the NPP's leader in Parliament, Alexander Fenyomake. Now, the Speaker's lawyers continue to argue that the court has no jurisdiction to entertain the suit before it, and that it should have been something handled by the High Court. If a case for interpretation arose when the High Court was going through the details of that particular suit, then they could stay the proceedings in the High Court and go to the Supreme Court for proceedings. But the court has no jurisdiction to stay the execution of a ruling of the Speaker of the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. They argue further that the processes and proceedings in the suit were filed and prosecuted in breach of the rules of natural justice in the ex parte manner in which Alexander Fenyomake went to court. And they argue as well again that the orders of the court dated the 18th of October 2024 were made in breach of the rules of natural justice. We've brought you that. And that the orders of the court dated the 18th of October were made in breach of the rules of procedure which regulate the court's proceedings and orders. Lastly, they are asking that the orders of the court dated the 18th of October were made in breach of the rules which prescribe the manner for exercising every type of discretion as stated in the provisions of Article 296A and B of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. So essentially, the Speaker, as we long have expected, is heading back to that forum where the stay was granted Alexander Fenyomake to seek to have the Supreme Court stay its own hand. And like I mentioned, that suit is expected to be heard today, slated for, not today, tomorrow rather, slated for tomorrow. And we here on NewsCentral will be there, bring you details as it transpires. It will take us on to our very first break for this afternoon. When we return, a bit more stories for you include parents and their wards already headed towards placement centers, seeking to have their challenges resolved, with reopening scheduled for tomorrow, the 30th of October. Stay with us. This is NewsCentral.
Welcome back to News Central. We can now turn attention to education. Now, parents between today and tomorrow will begin preparing the awards for senior high school following the release of the 2024 senior high school placement. Government says more than 90% of this year's BECE candidates have been placed, with over 30,000 students expected to resort to self-placement. I want to show you what the numbers look like of students entering senior high school this year. We know over 55,000 students sat for the BEC. Could we see that? Over 563,339 candidates wrote the senior high school candidates wrote the BECE. Now 553,155 qualify for placement into senior high schools. We also know that over 521,000 have been placed in one school or the other. Remember that we told you that about 32,000 of them will have to do self-placement. And so between now and Wednesday, some will be headed for school. Now, 73,390 have been placed in similar schools of choice. That's what the numbers look like for BECE candidates who are entering senior high school this year. Let's check on how that is going. Some students with their guardians have started trickling into the GES designated Western Region Solution Center to try to rectify challenges with their school placement. The Ministry of Education has released the 2024-2025 placement results for senior high schools and technical, vocational education and training institutions with its attendant challenges. Let's speak to Irama Smith. Irama is joining us from Secondary. Irama, what can you report from there?
It's 10 a.m. and I'm currently at the Western Regional Office of the Ghana Education Service, specifically designated Solution Center by the GES to help sort out the challenges of the placement of BEC graduates who are trying to secure admission to the SHS. It's very early and there are just a few people here, but basically what they are all talking about is a change of school for the awards. All those that have interacted with the awards got good grades. They got their first choice of schools, but some are saying that they realized that the schools are too far. It's only one person who says the ward missed the code, so that instead of picking, for instance, DSTS in Takrady, the ward has been placed at Ganas in the eastern region. So she wants to try to see if this can be changed for her. But this is very early. I mean, today is a Thursday. It's barely 10 a.m. So I believe that as the time goes on, we see more and more parents coming here with their awards to see what can be done to address their challenges.
Well, Irama, now it's 12:30 or even more. Have you been able to speak to officials to see how things are changing?
So the information I'm gathering is that the portals for the schools have not been opened. So many of the students do not even know their fate. And those who are not too sure about where they've been posted to are also in a dilemma because they don't have that access to be able to start posting themselves. Over here, as I indicated, most of the parents or guardians who are coming here are looking for a change of schools. So one other thing that we are being told is that, tomorrow, that is 30th, is the deadline for the student to report. And considering the fact that some do not even know their fate now, it has become quite a challenge for both parents and then the students. So here in the Western region, what they are saying is that they are waiting for a directive from Accra to know whether indeed the students will be reporting tomorrow, considering the fact that they expected the placement to be done a week before the reopening date, and that could not be done. So in this rushed way, they don't know how things will go. They are just in expectation of what their head office will direct them to do.
Very well, Rama, thank you so much for the report. Rama Smith is our Western Region correspondent. You're watching News Central on TV3, and we are your election command center.
A bit more for you here on your election command center. A member of parliament for the Damango constituency and Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abu Jinapor has hit hard at former President Mahama and the NDC for engaging in what he says is tribal politics. Addressing a charged crowd of NPP supporters at Claw in the Salaga South constituency of the Savannah region, the Damango lawmaker insisted that the times of tribal politics are long since from Gonjaland should stop engaging in tribal politics. Let's go to Christopher Marco right now, who's been following the development there because of what the backstory is. He himself was in trouble. It's the Damango MP in relation to certain perceived actions by the overlord of the Gonja traditional area. Chris has joined us. Chris, help us understand the make and feel of the Salaga constituency to start off with, and what is expected to be a keen battle between the NPP and the NDC.
Yes, so Mawena, you remember that before the 2020 election in the Savannah region, the Salaga South constituency was the only constituency with an MPP parliamentarian. And so, unfortunately, in 2020, the MPP lost the Salaga South constituency seat, even though it won 3 seats in that election. So this place has become a battleground for both the MPP and the NDC. You remember that 2 weeks ago, the NDC flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, was in the Savannah region and visited the Salaga South constituency. He equally visited Claw, a deprived area in the Salaga South constituency, and indicated that the people should vote for him, first of all, as a brother, a Gonja, and when he comes, he will develop the area. This did not sit well with the Damango lawmaker, who also taught the Salaga South constituency, and he is saying that, look, politics is beyond brotherhood. Politics is beyond the fact that I am a Gonja, you are a Gonja. Politics is about development, and the parliamentary candidate for the NPP in the Salaga South constituency, Adam Brahma Salifu, is the only person who can complement the development policies and programs of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia if elected into office. Let's take a listen to what Abu Jinapor has been telling the people of Claw.
Politics are over. This is a time of progress, of forward march, of development. That is the era we are in today. We are voting for the party that has created a region for us. We are voting for the party that has built our roads. We are voting for the party that has built more hospitals for Savannah region. We are voting for the party that has built more schools for Savannah region, promoted agriculture, brought about jobs, and that party is a new patriotic party. Na yempe mpaipaimu, MPP kuwa yempe mpaipaimu, ankesali so ampe mpaipaimu, uye Gonja niyo, uye Chokosu niyo, uye Dagaba niyo, uye Sisala niyo, uye Fulani niyo, uye Dagombo, Grusio, ankesali Trahoma Obia, Etikrofo, Esremu Biem.
And so, Chris, what's it looking like with some 39 days to the elections in that part of the country?
Yes, so Mawina, if you look at the Savannah region as it stands now, the NDC has 4 out of the 7 seats. But this time around, the MPP is saying that, look, in 2020, we had only 1 seat, but we're able to win 2 other seats, making it 3 out of the 7. And this is the home region of former President and NDC flag bearer. And so they are putting in more efforts to ensure that they win more seats, and they are capitalizing on the fact that the MPP has developed the Savannah region and even created the Savannah region. And so this is an opportunity for the people of the region to repay the MPP with their votes so that they can continue with their development interventions. The NDC is also saying that, look, this region, even though we did not create it, but if you want to compare the records of John Dramani Mahama in terms of development to that of NPP under Akufo-Addo, we have done massively well, and so we deserve the votes of the people. So every political party, especially MPP and NDC, have intensified their campaigns, but this time around they are not doing platform or rallies across the constituencies. They move from one electoral area to the other, trying to convince the people to amass more votes.
Chris, as always, I appreciate those details there. That's my colleague, Christopher Bawku, follower in the Salaga South constituency and the development there for us. This is your Election Command Center. A bit more politics for you this hour.
Founder and leader of the Movement for Change, Alan Tremontaine, has begun an 8-day tour of parts of the Greater Accra region. He has called on drivers and traders to vote against the NPP and the NDC for failing the country while promising to make Ghana an industrial hub he voted for.
The tour, which started from Adenta constituency, was Alan's way of introducing himself to voters in the various constituencies. Alan Tremontaine was met with a lot of excitement at the various markets, including the American House Lorry Station, Atomic Junction, Harchu, Wetland, and later to Accra New Town and the Malamata markets. Traders expressed optimism in Tremontaine's ability to transform the country into a prosperous nation as they cheered him up amidst dancing. John Alan Tremontaine could not hide his excitement and told the media that his reception was evident that people wanted a change in leadership and consequently a change in their economic standing.
You can see the euphoria, the organic love that the ordinary people are showing towards me. And so there's going to be a big surprise in December. At any rate, I was a founding member of MPP. And I know that the MPP does not have more than 1 million committed voters. Don't be fooled by the numbers. The numbers that you find at election time does not represent the reality.
He outlined his plans for the country.
In Greater Accra, I have a 12-point agenda for Greater Accra Renewal Initiative. Public transport and transit systems, decongestion, and then general traffic management and control. Number 3, the development of town roads and urban roads and also the community streets. All those are going to happen within the first 1.5 years of an Alan presidency.
On Saturday, November 2, will be a victory walk from the Brass Sport through some principal streets in Accra. Joseph Armstrong, Good and TV3, Accra.
And you are live here on News Central. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll bring you more stories. Don't go away.
You know me. Hey, yeah. Oh, is it? Come.
Shade
honor a symbol of resilience and a fierce advocate for marginalized groups and women's rights. Despite being disqualified twice from elections, her unwavering spirit and determination has made lasting impact on Ghanaian politics. With no formal education, she fought tirelessly for what she believed was justice and social change, leaving behind a legacy of hope.
My Obiang or Cacabro from Obiang Canacasa. Now, China for a new chair, no, if you want Casa or my work for pa. I'm on what say, you ma'am. Memphis and Federal assassin said you didn't, and I'm saying, Mamma, Obia Sakai. Massam is Sakai, the best legend. I really know I did a drug buson. A woman, I was assassin. And Yakupa, my and 2 mark and a buy no issue. And the drug buson, I cook one. And I'm saying to myself, for my mamma, that's how Mamma Sakai free. I feel right here. And then my bamoso. But go ahead. Must make them moment, make well. The any woman in Labessa, the any woman in Assa, a very lady. So go to my Naya Simuda. Now, when you for your maybe. When I'm upon a boy, no more, I must go in the car. I would have found a better day.
And Ghanaians will always remember her name. May her soul rest in peace. But a number of you have been asking one big critical question as to what happens now that she's no more, considering she's already on the ballot. We're going to bring back some education for you in relation to this, because that question has been asked a number of times. What happens when a candidate for presidential election dies? Where are the close of nominations, but before the election, one of the candidates dies, a further period of 10 days shall be allowed for nominations, and where the death occurs at any time within 25 days before the election in that constituency or unit shall be postponed for 21 days. And so that's one. And then where are the close of nominations, but before the election, one of the candidates dies, a further period of 10 days shall be allowed for nominations. And so that's what CI 127, which is the regulation guarding the country's election, is saying. And so the expectation is that going forward, the Ghana Freedom Party will be granted 10 days for which they can be able to file nominations for a candidate to possibly replace Madam Akua Donkor. So for a lot of you who are still asking the question, what happens? Does it mean there's going to be fresh balloting? That's a bit of education for you as to what it is that we have on our hands right now.
So we look forward to what new processes or information the Electoral Commission comes out with in the coming days.
Absolutely. And that will be a bulletin for you this afternoon. Quickly though, follow us on Instagram, 3news.gh. That's where you get the exclusives and the details as they come through. Bulletin is done. I am Mawina Egbeta.
And I am Kevin Yamada. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Next is the afternoon show. Bye-bye.